Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris Stollings. You know me here on YouTube as MarauderEX, and this is Operation Recap, where I take some of the stories that we've posted on Operation Rainfall throughout the week and throw them back at your face to see if they get a little bit more attention, a little bit more recognition, or maybe you just may have missed them the first time. Who knows? I am going to apologize right off the bat for there not being a recap video last week. All I'm going to say on the matter is the world does not stop spinning for just one man, no matter how much you want it to. With that said, we're going to jump right into this week's stories. First off, Sony is requiring alternate means of control for PS4 games. I say alternate means of control. It was published that Vita Remote Play is mandatory for all PS4 games. It's not just Vita. So what's happening is Sony has declared that if you are developing a game for the PS4, it has to have a control scheme for either the Vita or the PS4i, which is the successor to the iToy that got no love on the PS2 and PS3 whatsoever. So Sony is making this mandatory statement that if you are developing games, alternate control schemes must be applicable. I'm curious to see how this plays out, because what this does is Sony is trying to cement itself as the middle ground between Nintendo and Microsoft. Nintendo, with the Wii U, has the tablet controller, which the Vita would be taking over that aspect on the PS4, and the Xbox One has the Kinect, which the PS4i will be taking over that. So Sony is trying to cement itself as the middle ground for both types of control schemes to see what markets attract what. Very interesting play by Sony, but I'm also kind of curious to see how it plays out for developers who were originally going to Sony to avoid the different styles of controls, either via the Wii U or the Kinect, that is required for the Xbox One to work. So, really interesting development from Sony. This is the definition of gamble, because it could go really good for them or it could go really bad, depending on what markets attract what. So that's the thing. Next up, we've got the list of Best Buys that are going to be demoing Nintendo games for E3. Remember a while back we said Nintendo was not doing a typical E3 conference. They were doing a Nintendo Direct style conference, streaming it on YouTube, Nintendo.com, that sort of thing. Then they came out and said that they are going to partner with Best Buy and let gamers play the games that they would have normally shown off for E3. I'm so flabbergasted by this, I can't get a complete sentence out of this. It's amazing. It started off as like the worst idea ever, Nintendo not doing a press conference at E3. That just sounds like suicide. But then they said, oh, we're doing the Nintendo Direct, and now we're going to let people play the games that we're showing off that would normally be behind closed doors at E3 for press only. The average gamer, I mean, we count as press, but the odds of half of Rainfall staff going to play this are next to nil. So the fact that I can still play this and not have to be at E3, this blows my mind. So Nintendo has announced I think 89 stores is what they said. Yeah, I think 89 stores that throughout the US and Canada are going to have these demo units. They are going to be available June 12th from 4 to 8 p.m. and June 15th from 1 to 5. They have not announced what games will be available for the demo yet. Full list will go up on June 11th. So check out the list of what Best Buys are available near you. See if there's one that's going to be demoing these units, and go check them out. I know I'm going to be there, and I'm going to record it and try to get my first impressions up on YouTube if available, if they let me. Don't know. But huge deal for Nintendo and Best Buy. Next up, Double Fine has a new Kickstarter. This is a big deal to me because Double Fine kind of changed how Kickstarter would influence games. The first Double Fine Kickstarter that came out reached astronomical amounts of money behind it. And that game's not even out yet. So the fact that they have already announced another game is just mind-boggling to me. I don't know how to feel about this. It could be that the first one was such a success that they are still in the process of working on that one. They had another idea that they wanted to do, so they went ahead and threw it out. Or it could be a very bad thing for Kickstarter that the first game from this company has not come out and they're already doing another one. It could look bad. I mean, if it were anyone other than Double Fine and Tim Schafer, I would probably feel very negatively about this. But the fact that Tim Schafer has been a fixture in the gaming industry for years, and the fact that his ideas are amazing and revolutionary seem to be ignored by the industry as a whole, leads me to believe this could be a good thing. But it definitely shows that Kickstarter, it's still a nebulous thing. But I'm very intrigued by the concept of the game itself. It is a tactical RPG style, very similar to Final Fantasy Tactics, Fire Emblem, Shining Force, that style of game. But you play an immortal ruler where all of your subjects are mortal. So death is permanent for them. So if you lose someone, they die, as in real life. It sounds like a massive, massive undertaking. We have the article with the Kickstarter trailer video in the description of the video. Go check it out. It's one I'm going to be backing. I just can't say no to Tim Schafer. Psychonauts is amazing, and this game looks great. As you all know, Shining Force is one of my favorite games. This looks beastly. And last but not least for this this recap, there has been a brand new side quest found in Final Fantasy IX. After all of these years, the game was released in 2000, 13 years ago. We have just now discovered a side quest. Now, it's been said that this quest was mentioned in the Final Fantasy Ultimania guide that came out in Japan in 2004, but it's just been chronicled officially just within the past week. It requires a massive amount of things to happen, involving checking out specific events and then going back to a specific point to talk to members of a giant family that are related to one of the NPCs that you encounter in the game. The quest itself only really provides a protect ring as an item, for those of you who are familiar with Final Fantasy IX, but the fact that this is something that has been overlooked by gamers for 13 years kind of makes you wonder what other Easter eggs are still lurking in games from when gamers of my age were children. Kind of amazes me, because Final Fantasy IX is one of my favorite games of all time, and this is a quest that I never even thought to look for. I may have spoken to the original NPC once, but then by the time the quest kicks in and you're able to go back, you've probably forgotten all about it, because there's nothing linking back to it. It is one of the most well-hidden side quests that I've probably ever seen. And unless you're playing Final Fantasy XI, in which they just tell you nothing about the game. But that's a completely different story. So check that out if you're a fan of Final Fantasy IX. It's, like I said, one of my favorite Final Fantasy titles of all time. I'm definitely going to be replaying this just to try out this this new quest to see what happens. So yeah, that's been the recap video for this week. So check out all of the stories on Rainfall.com and stay tuned for future updates for new stories, because E3 is just around the corner. Your question for the week, I've got two. One, how do you guys feel about the Kickstarter revolution for games? Do you feel like Kickstarter is the way that gaming could possibly go, shifting away from the traditional AAA studio showing us what we want versus us actually voting with our wallets? Or is it just a fact that will probably go away in the next couple of years when people realize that you're paying a lot for games that you don't need to pay that much for? And the second question is, what is your favorite gaming Easter egg? There's a ton of them, especially if you're fans of sandbox-style games like Grand Theft Auto. Talk about those amongst the comments. I'd love to hear the discussion. Until then, I will see you guys next week for your next recap video. Later, everyone.